UFC 266 Volkanovski versus Ortega takes place this weekend, and I'm going to go through the entire card, starting with the early prelims, ending with the main event, giving my prediction and breakdown for every single fight on the card. And let's waste no more time and start with the early prelim opener of Jonathan Pearce versus Omar Morales. I'm going to be going with Omar Morales here. This bout takes place in the featherweight division. Both guys very big for the featherweight division as well. When you look at Omar Morales' career, 11-1. His only loss in his entire career is now to Giga Chikadze, who just beat Edson Barboza by third round TKO and looked amazing in that fight as well. Omar Morales' loss has aged really well. Jonathan Pearce, I did pick him to win against Kaikamaka, and he looked quite good out there as well. Got the finish against Kaikamaka, looked very good. I picked him as an underdog in that fight, but I just really don't feel like he's at the level of an Omar Morales. Omar Morales looked very composed on the feet in his last fight against Shane Young, who's a CKB guy. He's no joke. Omar Morales is a very, very good opponent. I'm looking forward to seeing this bout. I think Omar Morales is going to go out there and win himself a unanimous decision. Not too much finishing power from Omar Morales as we've seen so far in his UFC career, but he handled Gabriel Benitez quite well over the 3 rounds as well, and that was only in his second ever UFC bout. First fight against Dong Hyun Ma, not really much we can tell from that, but the next fight against Gabriel Benitez, that puts you up there with like the Billy Quarantillos of the featherweight division. Very good performance by Omar Morales there. I think I'm going to pick him quite comfortably here against Jonathan Pearce. I don't see this fight hitting the ground. I think Omar Morales' takedown defense is going to be enough to keep this one standing, and as long as it's on the feet, I see Omar Morales as a way more composed, a way more versatile, and a way more dangerous striker than Jonathan Pearce, and I think he wins this one by 30-27, unanimous decision win. Omar Morales gets it done. Moving on up the card, Matthew Semelberger versus Martin Sano. This is an interesting one in terms of, like, not the fight itself. The fight itself's pretty one-sided. Matthew Semelberger is going to definitely win. It's interesting because Martin Sano is in the UFC. Why is this man in the UFC, you ask? I'll tell you why. He's Nate Diaz's friend. That's literally the only reason. At one point in his career, back in 2015, he was 4-0. Now he's 4-2-1. He's lost 2 in a row. Other than that, he went to a draw against a 4-2 opponent who was 37 years of age at the time. Hasn't fought in about 3 years. I'm not going with Martin Sano. I don't see any way he wins this one whatsoever. Matthew Semelberger looked really good against Chaos Williams in his last bout. Took shots well, which kind of counts out the opportunity that Martin Sano has to maybe go out there and get a KO win in the first round in like a shocking upset. I don't see Matthew Semelberger getting KO'd. Has a really, really great win in the welterweight division over, I believe it was Jason Witt, wasn't it? He got the finish in the first round, and that was a very, very important win for him that he had. A very easy win for him as well. I'm really looking forward to seeing what Matthew Semelberger can do with his career, and I think this is a great opportunity for him to go out there and make a statement against a guy who just does not belong in the UFC whatsoever. He's literally just Nate Diaz's friend. There's nothing else to this guy. He's Nate Diaz's friend. He's 4-2-1. He hasn't won any of his last 3 fights. They haven't even been against great competition opponents, but he's still here. Matthew Semelberger is going to annihilate him in the first round by KO, and I hope that he has that in his mind when he goes out there as well, because this is a silver platter win for Matthew Semelberger. 2% of people on Tapology are picking Martin Sano, and I think that's Nate and Nick Diaz. Moving on, up the card, Semelberger round 1 KO. Karl Roberson versus Nick Maximov, another guy from Nate Diaz's gym, Nick Maximov. This time I'm actually going to pick him because he does belong in the UFC. He had fought some cans earlier in his career, but he had a couple of fights cancelled. He's a big time grappler. He's been at Submission Underground a bunch of times. His last 4 competition outings were at Submission Underground, which I thought was quite good to see because he's staying active in the meantime. Wants to get out there under the bright lights and compete. He's a young guy. You need that kind of experience that you're not going to get whilst you're in the UFC. It's dangerous to do so. 23 years of age versus the 30 years of age of Karl Roberson. Man, there just seems to have been such a blueprint on how to beat Karl Roberson, and he's had so many attempts to try and fix it, and I understand there could be a chance that he outstrikes Nick Maximov here and is able to finish him on the feet, but when you look at his previous fights, Brendan Allen got a takedown on him, immediately submitted him with a heel hook. Marvin Vettori got a takedown on him, beat the hell out of him and put in a rear naked choke and got the submission in the first round as well. Glover Teixeira got clipped with a big shot, but as soon as he got Karl Roberson to the ground, Roberson opened up, left himself out there vulnerable and got arm triangle choked in the first round. Cesar Ferreira, as soon as he got Karl Roberson to the ground, He got an arm triangle choke. Like, it's just such a repeating occurrence for Karl Roberson in his losses. I'm going to have to go with Nick Maximov here. I mean, he went out there on the Contender Series, and let's not forget, he's fighting at middleweight here against Karl Roberson. He fought on the Contender Series at heavyweight. He weighed 205 pounds, something like that. The guy he was fighting was 11-2, weighed 260-something pounds, 60-pound weight advantage for this guy over Nick Maximov, and still Nick Maximov was able to go out there and out-grapple him. I don't care about technique. I don't care about takedown defense. If you can in any way manipulate an 11-2 MMA heavyweight and take him down for 3 rounds with a 60-pound weight advantage over you, I don't care if Karl Roberson gets an underhook. He's still going for a ride against Nick Maximov. That's what that told me. I think Nick Maximov gets this one done. 7-0, I think he improves to. This is a good fighter out of Nate Diaz's camp. Good jiu-jitsu as well in that camp as well. He's been competing in Submission Underground. He's won a couple of them, lost a couple of them, had that experience, been active in the meantime under competition, and I think he's going to go out there against Karl Roberson, and I can see him getting himself a submission win in the first round against Karl Roberson. I mean, it's the only way Karl Roberson has lost throughout his entire career. I'm going to take that as a little bit of a sign, and I'm going to go with Nick Maximov, arm triangle in the first round, a real bully boy move by Nick Maximov. I think he gets this one done over Roberson by first round submission, and he's got a bit of a reach advantage on the feet as well, whilst being a shorter guy. So, in that case, he's got a little bit of reach to hide behind on the feet. He's not going to be as open as he would be if he had to find his way on the inside with a shorter reach. I think that just really helps him on the feet as long as this is on the feet. And I think other than that, he's going to immediately get a takedown in the first round. Wear it out on the feet a little bit first. Touch shots, not really commit to anything, and then as soon as he commits to a double leg, I don't see Roberson defending if a 265-pound 11-2 heavyweight can't. Nick Maximov gets the job done by first round submission. Moving on up the card, Manon Fiorot versus Mayra Bueno Silva. I'm going to be going with Manon, the Beast Fiorot. Here, I think she gets this one done by TKO over Mayra Bueno Silva. Manon Fiorot is just a good women's fighter in its women's flyweight division, and there's not much to go off of here. Mayra Bueno Silva, she's kind of hot in times with the body-wise. So she's here. She's decent, no. She went to a draw with Montana De La Rosa, which arguably couldn't have been a draw, but it was a draw. Oh well. Pretty close fight. I truly believe that Manon Fiorot is actually kind of good. And I know that sounds crazy to say because you're like, hey, it's the UFC. Of course, they're all going to be good, right? No, this is the women's flyweight division. It's like men's middleweight. They're not good. So you kind of got to go with Manon Fiorot here. Maybe there's an opportunity for Mayra Bueno Silva to take this to the ground and work some stuff there, but I truly believe Manon Fiorot, very technical striker, looks like she knows what she's doing, hasn't really been exposed on the ground yet. I think she's going to go out there against Mayra Bueno Silva and just dominate the fight on the feet, keep it standing as well, and if Mayra Bueno Silva does try to close the distance, I can see Manon Fiorot creating space, framing off the head, landing knees to the body, landing elbows upstairs as well, winning the clinch exchange, making Mayra Bueno Silva not really want to commit to the clinch, and that'll make her not really want to go for takedowns either. I think Manon Fiorot keeps this one standing over the 3 rounds and gets a finish in maybe like the late second, so maybe not over the 3 rounds. I'm going to call a late second round finish for Manon Fiorot. I think she'll hurt Mayra Bueno Silva in the first round. That's going to shake Mayra Bueno Silva's confidence in the second. Then she's going to slowly get broken down by Manon Fiorot, who's going to put a pace on her, put some combinations on her, and finish her with a nasty combo, standing TKO style, against the cage in the second round. Manon Fiorot gets it done. Moving on up the card, Uros versus Jalin Turner. This is interesting, actually, because Jalin Turner is really awkward to fight, but I'm still going to go with Uros Medic. This guy looks absolutely phenomenal. Didn't take on great opponents early on in his career, but his last few fights, it's the way he's looking against them. Like, if this guy was taking these guys to a decision, like a lot of people give Sean O'Malley a bit of a bad looking because he took Chris Matinho to the 3rd round. If he was really that special, he would have destroyed Matinho in the first, that kind of thing. Uros Medic, he hasn't been taking on great competition opponents, but it's just the ease that he passes through these guys. It's the absolute ease out there. He goes out there, he destroys them. They can't take his power. He's way faster than all of them. He's versatile on the feet. He throws kicks, he throws hands. I think he's going to go out there and improve to 8-0 and remain undefeated against Jalin Turner. Not to mention, Jalin Turner is a huge lightweight. He's been at welterweight before in his career. He's been KO'd, I want to say, 4 times in his career as well. Pretty tricky because of the reach, but then again, I mean, I think that it's just going to be a case of Uros Medic being way too fast. And if you watch against Jalin Cruz in his last fight, Jalin Cruz had a reach advantage over Uros Medic, but it's in tight, in close, in those close range fights where Uros Medic shines. He landed a real close range hook on Jalin Cruz, put him down relatively easily. I think I'm going to pick Uros Medic here by first round TKO over Jalin Turner, who's been KO'd, I believe, 4 times in his career, a couple of times in the first round as well. And he's draining himself down to lightweight, and he's a huge guy for the division. I'm going to trust Uros Medic to be faster, more confident, better weight cut, more active, more aggressive early. I think he's going to push the fight on Jalin Turner, get really aggressive with him, and land a big shot that rocks him and then puts him away by TKO in the first round. Uros Medic gets it done. Moving on up the card to the prelims, Roxanne Modaferri versus Taila Santos. I'm going to go with Roxanne. I'm joking. I'm going to go with Taila Santos here because surely this time someone's going to beat Roxanne Modaferri. Viviane Araújo did it last time. I think Taila Santos is following down that pathway of level of fighter that Viviane Araújo did. Roxanne Modaferri just getting older and older at this point, taking more and more damage. She just doesn't know what she's doing out there. And I know it's women's flyweight and it's like men's middleweight, so you can kind of get away with not knowing what you're doing whatsoever despite having over 35 fights. I understand. She has close to fucking 40. She has over 40 fights. And she still looks like that. So there's no improvement being made. She obviously doesn't hard spar. I'm going to pick Taila Santos. She looked good out there against Gillian Robertson. Won that fight quite comfortably. 17-1 in her career overall. Looking good recently as well. Looking very technical. She's very well rounded. If this doesn't work out for her on the feet, she can take it to the ground, which is a good look because normally Modaferri gets these strikers to the ground and they don't know quite what they're doing. And she just lays in half guard and total strikes to a victory. But Taila Santos has shown a little bit of a ground game, and that win over Molly McCann, which was very clear, by the way, is now looking a lot better since Molly McCann bounced back. Lost to Mayra Borella, not the best loss to have in her career, but I truly believe she's going to go on and win this one against Roxanne Modaferri. She's looked like she's reached her peak recently. 28 years of age as well, still young, still improving, has the reach advantage here over... No, she doesn't have the reach advantage, but I still think she's going to use it way better than Roxanne will. Roxanne Modaferri just looks like she's fighting blind. So, as far as I can tell, Taila Santos looks like she can see out there. So I'm going to go with Taila Santos here by unanimous decision over Roxanne Modaferri. Don't expect a finish here because Roxanne Modaferri is quite tough. I'm going to go Taila Santos 17-1, getting the job done by decision 29-28. Maybe Roxanne Modaferri wins a round and makes it a bit competitive. I'll go with Taila Santos. I trust her to win this one because of her good ground game and understanding of grappling. I don't think she's just going to be a fish out of water on the ground like a girl like Macy Barber was against Roxanne Modaferri. I'm going with Taila Santos getting this one done. Moving on up the card, Shamil Abdurakhimov versus Chris Daukaus. I'm going to be going with Chris Daukaus here by first round TKO over Shamil Abdurakhimov. It's just because of the timing of Shamil right now. This is usually kind of a bit of a dangerous matchup for Chris Daukaus. It's a bigger opponent, not too big for the heavyweight division and not too muscular either for the heavyweight division, but still a big guy who can grapple. Maybe we see a bit of Chris Daukaus on the ground here. I don't think we do. Showed really good takedown defense against Alexei Olenek, who had a really good double leg on him. Shook that off, got out of it, looked very, very composed. Looked like he knew exactly what to do as soon as a takedown was attempted on him. Shooed off, got his base, got some underhooks, got his legs out of there, pushed back, and then just got straight back to range, doing what he does best and teeing off on heavyweights. I think I'm going to see Chris Daukaus get a first round KO here over Shamil Abdurakhimov. It's just because Shamil Abdurakhimov has been KO'd a couple of times in his career, got TKO'd by Curtis Blaydes, and took a real bad beating there, got KO'd by Derek Lewis as well, KO'd by Tim Johnson in the first round, triangled by Tony Lopez earlier on, but even still, even lost to Thiago Santos in his career. Wow, Thiago Santos has been about, huh? Either way, Shamil Abdurakhimov has not fought in 2 straight years. And with Chris Daukaus, he's been very active. He starts really fast, and he's so switched on early with big KO power and huge speed. When you're a guy who ain't been in there for 2 years and your last memory is Curtis Blaydes ragdolling you and smashing you into oblivion on the ground, I think he's going to be hesitant early. I think he's going to need time to warm into the fight, and I don't think he has that time to warm into the fight against a guy with the speed and power of Chris Daukaus in the heavyweight division. I see Daukaus going out there, being patient, making his moves. Shamil maybe goes forward with a shot, and I see Daukaus landing a counter blow, rocking Shamil Abdurakhimov, and then Daukaus goes in, looks for the finish, maybe stuffs a panic takedown, down. Shamil gets back up. Daukaus gets back on him. Another combination. Puts down Shamil Abdurakhimov in the first round. Chris Daukaus gets this one done by first round TKO. It's the time off. On top of me just thinking Chris Daukaus wins anyway, it's just a time off. 2 years off, coming back against a real fast starter. I don't see that one going too well for Shamil Abdurakhimov. Chris Daukaus gets this one done by first round TKO. Moving on up the card, Dan Hooker versus Nasrat Haqparast. Is this even happening? I guess we'll find out tomorrow. I hope it's still happening. This is a great bout. I'm going to be picking Dan Hooker, even though he will be getting off of a plane on Thursday, getting his weight cut down on Friday and then fighting on Saturday. I think this is what Dan Hooker's made of, man. I think he's going to go out there, beat Nasrat Haqparast. He's got massive size advantage over Nasrat here. Long reach advantage as well of 3 inches to hide behind if he needs to. Very tall for the division. Much longer leg reach as well. This is going to be a stand-up fight in my opinion, so these measurements do count a little bit, especially when they know how to use them like Dan Hooker. I just worry that maybe Dan Hooker has used up all of his toughness against Dustin Poirier, which is why we saw that quick KO against Michael Chandler. But we'll see how it goes. Nasrat doesn't really have that kind of power. Saw his fight with Rafa Garcia. Rafa Garcia just lost to Chris Guttschmacher on short notice. Like, some of Nasrat's wins haven't aged the best in his career, like Joaquin Silva. Just lost to Rick fucking Glenn in the first round by TKO. Nasrat took him to the third or the second, I believe. I just like Nasrat, but I don't think his wins have aged that well in terms of showing just how good he is. I like Dan Hooker. I like his performances, even in losses, other than the Michael Chandler one, of course. But he's taken some time off. I think he's going to get back out there. He's hungry to fight on this card. He's taken on Nasrat Haqparast. I think Dan Hooker's going to get this one done. I'll say Dan Hooker gets it done by second round TKO with a knee up the middle. Sometimes Nasrat dips his head a little bit in combinations, goes in, looks for the 1-2s, opens up with flurries. I can see Dan Hooker landing a couple of shots, finding his range, shimmying backwards as Nasrat tries to fire back, and landing that knee up the middle against Nasrat Haqparast. I'm going to call a vintage Dan Hooker knee up the middle KO in the middle of the second round against Nasrat after winning the first for himself. I think Nasrat's going to be a bit more aggressive, trying to win the second round back after Dan Hooker gets the first, and I think that's going to lead him to walk straight into a knee of Dan Hooker, and I think he gets that one done. Dan Hooker, massive height advantage here. That's going to help with those knees. It's just worrying about the circumstances, but you can kind of counterbalance that with the fact that, hey, Dan Hooker's going to be a little bit of a rushed guy, getting to the weigh-ins, getting to the fight itself. But Nasrat Haqparast's mum died. So, like, there's also that mental block for him as well. Like, maybe if Nasrat was fresh and motivated on it, I would maybe understand the underdog pick. But, like, having that thought in his mind, that emotional wreckage a week before the fight, like, I think it kind of evens out both of their situations. And I'm just going to call it as a fight. And I think Dan Hooker's much better than him. Fought better competition. He looked as good. I mean, when you consider, like, a loss to Drew Dober over a loss to Michael Chandler, and you consider like we beat Joaquin Silva, yeah, but Dan Hooker went out there and outstruck Dustin Poirier for 2 rounds and would have finished Poirier if there's 10 seconds left in the second round. If Dan Hooker shows up in A form and Nasrat shows up in A form, Dan Hooker wins this fight, and I think he's going to this weekend by TKO. Moving on up the card, Marlon Moraes versus Merab Dvalishvili. I'm going to be going with Marlon. I'm going to go with Merab Dvalishvili here. But there is a good chance at an underdog. I haven't picked many underdogs this card. I did that last card. But this card, I haven't really picked too many underdogs. But I will tell you where there are some good ones. Marlon Moraes is a good underdog here. And he's a good underdog if you pick him in the first round. Remember, Merab Dvalishvili sometimes leaves himself open for guillotines. And Marlon Moraes has that guillotine finish over Rafael Assunção. Very strong in the first round. Very explosive in the first round. Could get a KO here over Merab. Merab makes a lot of mistakes on the feet. Could see that switch kick landing potentially. But I do believe that Merab Dvalishvili knows what he's got to do out there. And here's the situation. Merab's going to be able to take down Marlon Moraes. There's no doubt about that in my mind. It's just, he won't keep him there for long. Marlon Moraes will get back up here, but the problem I see with that is, even though Moraes is getting back up, he's using a lot of energy to do so in the first round. And Merab sticks to people. That's what he does. Like, you are going to get up 30 times. But you're going to get taken down 31 times. You know what I mean? Like, that seems how it works for Merab Dvalishvili's career. He sticks to you. He gets you against a cage. If you get back up, oh well, time for another double leg. I don't see Moraes doing anything like those little elbows or anything like that. We don't really see that in his career. But for Merab Dvalishvili, I think he just goes out there with a simple game plan, throw some crazy shit, be a little bit wild out there, maybe fake a couple of takedowns, make Marlon Moraes a little bit hesitant in that first round. Plus, let's not forget, Marlon Moraes has a little bit of a chin issue right now. Got KO'd by Corey Sandhagen, turned right back around, got finished by basically a jab of Rob Font afterwards. Not a good look for Marlon Moraes to be getting chinned that easily in the bantamweight division. Cardio's not a great sign either, especially when you're going to be in a high scramble grappling match with Merab Dvalishvili. I'm going to be picking Merab Dvalishvili to go out there, get the job done, and just stick to Marlon Moraes like glue, and I'm going to say he gets it done by arm triangle submission in the third round against Marlon Moraes. I think eventually Moraes will just look at the clock on his back and think, fuck, I can't really get back up here and stay back up. I'm really gassing out here. I've used a lot of fast twitch muscle to shake off some of these takedowns. Now Merab settled on top of me. I think I'm going to go with Merab Dvalishvili arm triangle submission at the end of the third round, just to put a statement on a good performance already against Marlon Moraes. I think his takedowns are going to be too much, and he's just so relentless. I think even if Moraes does get back up and shake him off, Merab's going to be right there against him while Moraes is against the cage, and Merab's going to be shooting again for another double leg, another single leg, and just making Moraes work the entire time. Plus, Merab's got a decent chin, so I trust him to win this one. I'm going with Merab Dvalishvili by submission in the third round after grappling Moraes for the first two. Moving on up the card to the main card here. Jessica Andrade versus Cynthia Calvillo. Women's flyweight division. Cynthia Calvillo's shit. I know she beat Jessica Rai, but she's typically quite shit. Jessica Andrade is also kind of, I mean, shit compared to Valentina Shevchenko, but she's also kind of good. She's got good stand-up, competed well with Rose Namajunas in their second fight, even in their first fight as well. I know that people say that she got lucky with that slam against Rose Namajunas, but if you watch that fight, as it was going on, it was starting to look like the rematch they had in that 3-rounder where Jessica was starting to do a little bit better, land those leg kicks. I just don't see Cynthia Calvillo with any finishing ability over Jessica Andrade here. Nowhere near the ground game or the grappling game of Valentina Shevchenko. I don't think she's going to be able to keep Jessica Andrade down or do anything on the ground to Jessica Andrade. Maybe Andrade gets a little bit comfortable now that she sold those nudes and made some money, who knows, but I still believe she goes out there, gets the job done. I'll say by 30. I think Calvillo will be tough here. She'll survive. She's good at surviving in her career. I'll say a decision for Jessica Andrade. And there might be some good odds on that as well, because a lot of people seeing Andrade by TKO here. I'm going to say a decision for Jessica Andrade. She wins every single round. The first round's close. The second round is more in favour of Andrade. And then maybe there's like a bit of a 10-8 round in the third for Andrade where she doesn't quite get the finish. Or maybe it's a late rounds finish. I see her building as the fight goes on and just really handily beating Cynthia Calvillo out there. Cynthia Calvillo, so women's flyweight division, they're not good. Andrade is actually kind of good and kind of technical. I know Calvillo moved up from strawweight as well, but different levels of strawweight we're talking about here. Calvillo couldn't make top 10. Andrade was fighting for the belts. She won the fucking belt. So I'm going to go Jessica Andrade getting this one done. Plus, she's still young and younger than Calvillo by 5 years. Going to be picking Andrade here to get this one by decision. Moving on up the card. Curtis Blaydes versus Jairzinho Rozenstruik. I'm going to be going with Curtis Blaydes here. Take down Rozenstruik. Smash him into the canvas. I'll say second round TKO for Curtis Blaydes. Much like the Shamil Abdurakhimov performance here. Shamil Abdurakhimov, much better grappling than Jairzinho Rozenstruik. I guess Curtis Blaydes didn't look as good as he maybe could have against Derek Lewis, but he got caught with a good punch. He was winning that entire fight. It's a Derek Lewis fight. Now, maybe the repercussions of that KO loss could still be lingering with him, so I'm not really going to take into consideration the Derek Lewis loss. But the consideration will be taken in about the KO that he took. He took a KO loss. He's going to be a bit more hesitant. But he's been looking great on the feet and he keeps good range. He's a much bigger guy than Jairzinho Rozenstruik. Much younger guy. He's got the reach advantage to hide behind as well. He's got 20 pounds of solid muscle as well. And let's not forget, Jairzinho Rozenstruik is 242 pounds. But he's not even all muscle. He's like a fat dumpling of a guy at heavyweight, in all honesty. So I think Curtis Blaydes is going to have about 20 pounds of lean muscle on him. If he can't take down Jairzinho Rozenstruik in the first round and smash the fuck out of him, I don't know what makes sense anymore at heavyweight. Like, I guess there's a chance that Jairzinho lands a good shot upstairs, but I think I'm going to go with Curtis Blaydes, sticking some good shots on Jairzinho on the feet early in the first minute of the fight, landing some good leg kicks at range, moving, maybe taking a couple of back steps, letting Jairzinho come to him, then landing a solid jab or something and then just switching it up underneath. One of the best things that Curtis Blaydes does in his career is mixing up takedowns with striking. That's one of the things he does the best. And I think he's going to do that against Jairzinho Rozenstruik. A couple of exchanges on the feet where he doesn't get KO'd, lands a couple of decent shots, then fakes those shots upstairs and ducks under to get the double leg. And I think he takes down Jairzinho, pounds him out in the first round. Jairzinho's going to come out in the second. Shit scared of being on the ground again against Curtis Blaydes. And that's going to lead him to getting put on the ground again against Curtis Blaydes. And I think Curtis Blaydes gets the job done in the second round by TKO. I don't see Jairzinho winning this one unless it's by first round, first minute KO, but it's unlikely. It's really unlikely that he gets that. I guess you could put some money on Jairzinho in the first round, under a minute, one of these kind of prop bets. But Curtis Blaydes gets this one done 9 times out of 10, so I'm not willing to pick the underdog here. Curtis Blaydes gets it done. Moving on up the card, Nick Diaz versus Robbie Lawler. I'm going to go with Robbie Lawler here. I know people are picking Nick Diaz to come back and win because Lawler's been looking bad, but Nick Diaz has been looking not in the fucking cage for 6 fucking years. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's my opinion here. Like, Lawler, you didn't look too good against Neil Magny. Well, Nick Diaz didn't look too good while he was on the fucking strip drinking with people and just looking completely out of it on drugs and wandering around. Like, I like Robbie Lawler here. It's such a tough fight to predict because if there's one guy who's going to sit there and do fucking nothing, well, I don't get how that is. It must be just rigging fights for people. I don't get how it happens. To see Lawler just shell up and not do something in certain fights is a worrying thing, but I guess you could say he did that against Neil Magny the same way Li Jingliang did that against Neil Magny. So when you really look at these losses of Robbie Lawler, Colby Covington, Neil Magny, whatever against Ben Askren, I guess, is a bit of a whatever, but he looked very explosive there in the first round. It's kind of hard to really hate on Robbie Lawler for his losses recently. So I'm going to go with Nick Diaz losing this one by decision. I think he's going to... No, I'm going to say first round TKO for Lawler. I don't want to say it. It hurts coming out my mouth. But I've got to say it. Nick Diaz is going to get smoked in the first round here, I think. Like, it's just, what don't we know? We don't know much about what's going to happen here. It's actually a bit of a toss-up. Lawler could just literally do nothing all fight long, and Diaz just picks it in with a jab and a couple of combination punches against the cage that make the crowd go wild. And what do you know? You've got Nick Diaz for Jorge Masvidal. You know what I mean? Like, it really works out for the UFC if Nick Diaz wins, if you get what I'm saying. And Lawler's a bit of a company man. Either way, I'm going to be going with Robbie Lawler here. Outside of rigging fights, Lawler gets this done. Explosive early. Had acne all over his face. I think he's probably juiced up again for this fight. His face looked very suspect in a couple of the interviews we've seen of him. Spots everywhere. I think Lawler's going to come out real explosive. And I think he's going to get a first round KO over Nick Diaz. And I think with Lawler, 39 years of age, doesn't seem too motivated to do this anymore, but one thing that will motivate him, a rematch, a chance at redemption, a Nick Diaz, a huge name on a big spot on a pay-per-view card. This, in my opinion, Lawler sees this as a perfect retirement opportunity. Get a big win, redeem a bad loss that you've had in your career where you got KO'd before, beat Nick Diaz in spectacular fashion, beat a huge name in Nick Diaz, get on the microphone, tell everyone how much you've loved your career, end on top, on a big pay-per-view card. This is the biggest chance Lawler's going to get to retire and settle off into the sunset. I think that Robbie Lawler gets this one done by TKO. When you look at what we know about this and not what we don't know. A lot of people are picking Nick Diaz here on Tapology. More people than me. I don't see that. 61%. I think that's a lot of fans. Either way, Nick Diaz hasn't been in a cage 6 years. Lawler has. Quite frequently for 6 years. Once a year, twice a year. Didn't fight in 2018. Fought twice in 2017. Lost to Woodley, lost to Dos Anjos, lost to Ben Askren. A bit iffy though, who knows. Colby Covington, Neil Magny. These aren't bad guys to be losing to. I still feel as though Robbie Lawler gets this one done. I just don't think Nick Diaz is going to be himself out there. Has not fought in a very long time. I question why he's coming back. I guess it's just to get a bit out there, and Nate Diaz has been very successful, so Nick's going to want to get back in there. I'm not picking Nick Diaz, man. I don't think he's going to look good after all this time off, and let's listen. He didn't have any intentions of coming back. Lawler's been training this whole time. He trains at a gym. He coaches at a gym. He teaches up-and-comers. He's in the gym every day regardless. Nick Diaz is out on the strip. He's drinking again. He's on this. He's looking really bad in an interview with Ariel Helwani. Like, he's really losing it a little bit. Like, he looks a lot more composed now that he's sober, I guess. But I just don't like that time off for Diaz, and I don't think it's been spent him refining his skills. So I'm going to go Robbie Lawler getting this one done, seeing a prime opportunity for a great retirement, and I think he's going to put Nick Diaz out in the first round. Standing TKO, Diaz gets rocked, gets dropped, gets back up, Lawler unloading against the cage, and Diaz just not throwing back, doesn't really quite have it in him anymore with the toughness. I think he's going to get really badly hurt against Robbie Lawler. Or you know what I think we could see here? I reckon we could see a Nick Diaz leg snap. Don't ask, but I think that's when you see a lot of people take time off, their bones aren't conditioned too much. If I was Lawler, I'm going out there smashing calf kicks. If I'm Lawler's team, I'm saying, hey, Nick Diaz ain't smashed nothing bare with his shin for 6 years. Go out there and calf kick this guy twice. He's done. That's what I would do. He's a boxer as well. He has a boxing heavy style. He sits very heavy on that lead leg. If I'm Robbie Lawler and I'm Robbie Lawler's coaches, I'm telling Lawler in the corner when the fight's about to start, go calf kick this motherfucker twice and he's done. And then finish it off. Lawler gets this one done by first round TKO, as much as that hurts me to say. I'm rooting for Nick Diaz, but I've been thinking Nick Diaz wins. I've been thinking Lawler wins. I worry way more when I'm thinking Nick Diaz wins about Nick Diaz. I'm picking Robbie Lawler to get this one done. Moving on up the card, Valentina Shevchenko versus Lauren Murphy. Who knows? This is a wild one. God, this is like real. I don't know. Give me a second here. Let me just brace myself before I attempt to make this prediction. Well, you've got the striking acumen of Valentina Shevchenko, multiple-time Muay Thai world champion, phenomenal on the feet, beat Ioanni and Jacek on the feet, even in Muay Thai and in MMA. Great takedowns, great submission game, submitted Jessica Andrade, phenomenal grappling game in MMA. I'd say a black belt level BJJ wizard for women's MMA. She's beaten Juliana Pena, I believe, at one point in her career as well. I'll just double check that right now. It wasn't Juliana Pena. I think it was actually... It was Juliana Pena? Yes, it was. She submitted her with an armbar. Black belt level women's MMA jiu-jitsu, I'd say, for Valentina Shevchenko. Black belt level women's stand-up for women's MMA in Valentina Shevchenko. Great stand-up, great chin, great toughness, great cardio, great jiu-jitsu, great grappling, great wrestling, great takedown defense, great everything. Great experience, being in 5-round fights, being in big fights as well, in the main event, in the co-main event. And then you've got then you've got Lauren Murphy. Could be Robbie Murphy. You've got Lauren Murphy next. She didn't win her last fight against Joanne Calderwood. She lost. She didn't win her fight against Andrea Lee. She lost. She got both of those split decisions. That makes her on a 5-fight winning streak. What does she do? She throws shots, I guess. Not in any good way. It's women's flyweight. They're not good fighters. She's 38. A streaking prospect looking for the belt. Grappling, but she can't out-grapple Valentina Shevchenko. There's zero chance. Yeah. I'm going to go Valentina Shevchenko here. Lauren Murphy looks like she's blind out there. And women's flyweight. Valentina's so great. She'll get this one done. God, what a living. I think Valentina Shevchenko's the luckiest woman alive. She has been given such a lovely life. Be a champion, be respected, be feared, be worshipped by fans, just be called a GOAT in something, against women who literally have no idea what they're doing. At all. So, Shevchenko will win, because everyone at women's flyweight is shit, other than Shevchenko. Moving on, up the card, Alexander Volkanovski. I'll give you a prediction, sorry. Shevchenko, second round crucifix TKO, just like the Andrade fight. I don't think she KOs on the feet. I think Murphy shoots and Shevchenko reverses and ends up on top and Just wins it that way with ground and pound. Moving on up the card, Alexander Volkanovski versus Brian Ortega. I'm going to be going with Alexander Volkanovski here. I mean, he's just next level. I mean, watching what he did to Holloway in hindsight, now that what Holloway did to Calvin Kattar, it's hard not to pick Alexander Volkanovski here against Brian Ortega. Ortega is a live dog on this card, and there aren't a lot of good underdogs on this card, but Ortega is one of them. He's got a chance maybe land an uppercut on Volkanovski. We've seen Volkanovski get dropped a couple of times in his career, but he's been smacked by Mendes, gets right back up, nods it on, composes himself, gets right back into the guard, right back to work. It's the composure of Alexander Volkanovski. Got hit by a head kick from Max Holloway, who is much better than we've seen Holloway before in that fight. Got dropped in that fight a couple of times. What does Volkanovski do? Get right back up to his feet, get right back to work, composed again. I don't think he's going to be wobbled all over the place for Ortega to go in for a finish, and I don't see him shooting panickedly on Ortega either at any moment in this fight. He's just so high level fight IQ wise. I don't see Ortega winning this one. I think Volkanovski's going to go out there, chop at the legs in the first 2 rounds, and if Ortega hasn't finished him in those first 2 rounds, Volkanovski's going to have landed about 30 leg kicks inside and outside of Ortega's leg, and I think Ortega's going to be walking differently for the last 3 rounds at least. Even if Ortega wins those first 2 rounds, the leg kicks Volkanovski will land in those first 2 rounds will be too much for Ortega, in my opinion. Eventually, he'll start walking a bit funny, and Volkanovski will start jabbing to the body. He's a much shorter guy with a longer reach. Again, he always has that advantage over his opponent. 71.5-inch reach for Alexander Volkanovski at 5'5", according to Google. I don't actually think he's 5'5". I think he's actually 5'6". Yep, he's 5'6". Only $1 billion company UFC. Tapology gets it right over you. Either way, I'm going to be going with Alexander Volkanovski here over Brian Ortega. Just too technical, too smart. I think he's going to do really well on the inside here. I think he's going to be jabbing to the body. Inside leg kicks, outside leg kicks, couple calf kicks as well. I just think he's getting better and better. And let's not forget how new Volkanovski is to the fight game. Same with Ortega, don't you mind. But Ortega, good performance against a Korean Zombie. But after that elbow, Korean Zombie just didn't really do anything. So I don't see Volkanovski, especially after being dropped by Holloway in the first 2 rounds. He came back and recomposed himself and won the last 3 against Holloway, who builds into fights. I don't see Volkanovski just doing nothing like the Korean Zombie did after the first 2 rounds and just accepting defeat against Ortega. I think even if it does go wrong in the first 2 rounds, I don't see Ortega finishing him. And if I don't see Ortega finishing him in the first 2 rounds, I don't see Ortega winning at all. I think he's going to get his legs chewed up. Volkanovski's too good. He's got really slick boxing, really good boxing defense as well. Slips under a lot of shots. Ortega's going to get a little bit wild out there, but when your legs are destroyed after the first round, I think those wild techniques are going to lead Ortega to be falling over, messy, a little bit sloppy, not as quick as he maybe usually would be, not stepping as normal as he would be as well. His footwork's going to be a bit compromised, and I think Volkanovski's probably going to go out there, and I will say, after destroying Ortega's leg for the first 3 rounds, I'm going to call a 4th round TKO for Alexander Volkanovski. I think he's just going to be too much. Ortega's going to be swollen up in the face. His eyes going to be swollen up. His legs are going to be destroyed. He's going to have eaten many shots to the body from Alexander Volkanovski, which I think Volkanovski's going to use a lot in this fight. A lot of shots to the body. He's got the jab to the body, which is going to work all night for him. And I think Volkanovski's going to remain undefeated at featherweight, on a 19-fight win streak in the featherweight division. Undefeated, 19-0 at featherweight. Beaten Aldo in a 3-rounder and outclassed Aldo in a 3-rounder. Broke full camp Mendes. Beat Holloway in the first fight very easily. Beat Holloway in the second fight as well, if you know what you're watching. He didn't win any of the last 3 rounds. That's Holloway, by the way. Holloway did not win any of the last 3 rounds, and they were all 10-9 rounds. Volkanovski 3-2. That's just how it works. I'm sorry, Holloway fans that are going to be offended by that. He's on the level to set himself up to be a GOAT, period. I think Volkanovski gets this one done. He doesn't get enough respect. I don't see Ortega winning this one. Volk gets it done by TKO in the 4th. I think he'll actually put a finish out there. Not really by concussive blows, just by damage. I think Ortega's going to be swollen up, hurt to the body, hurt to the legs. Volk starts putting a bit more pressure on him, lands a couple of good body shots, lands a couple of good head shots. Ortega starts to shell up and gets TKO'd on the ground while going on a single leg. Volk just pounding away at the back of his ear. We'll see how it goes. But I've got Volk by 4th round TKO. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Click that button up there. Toodle pip. I'll see you later. Goodbye. Thank you for watching.